I've got some too. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have the grapes.
That's a really pretty bottle.
Isn't that pretty? I like that. I got that at Bed Bath and Beyond.
Okay.
Oh, these are grapes.
No,
I was going to pretend I'm eating, you know.
yeah, mine out here. We got the words pretty loud and clear. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Okay. See, it's on that paper. It says 3 o'clock.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock. The what?
The horses are coming.
Oh, the halls are still coming. It's funny, I've been told by 3 different people to be sure we wear masks. I think they must know me too well. Oh, they're leaving. That's too bad. Nobody's here that.
Here's a little history. I can't show it to you now, but I lost my wedding ring here.
Here?
Yeah, now,
Oh,
at the terraces,
Uh-huh.
months and months ago. And I never found it. And then I had my mother's wedding ring that fit my little finger. And this is a pretty, it's got some little diamonds. So I took it to the jeweler.
you
I
went?
took it to my jeweler and he had it big enough. And isn't that sweet? Wouldn't she be honored if she?
Yeah.
she knew? And I always forget to put it on.
Oh, you never did find your wedding ring.
What?
You never did find.
So is,
I think it's time for us to start.
okay, somebody say the blessing.
Yeah, you know, my mask might slip off every once in a while when I'm talking. Yeah. And you're not supposed to wear a mask when you drink water, so you might find me very thirsty, as well as nobody's here that will report me, I don't think. Okay, I'm here to introduce Lynn and Janine. And no, but you can hear me, can't you? Because my voice is very loud. I've been told. Anyway, let's start with one of you talking about where you came from the beginning. Okay.
I can do that. Oh. Is that better? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I can hear me too. Okay. Well, we're both from Wisconsin. And we grew up in this little small town of 4,000 people. And we were high school sweethearts. And we met at a dance because I was so shy, if you can believe that, when I was in high school. And my friend was having a Christmas dance. And I thought, dang, that's it. I'm going to dance with at every single dance. No, I don't care who I dance with. I'm dancing. So in walks Lynn, and I said, do you want to dance? And he said, I don't know how. And that was the beginning of, excuse me, a beautiful friendship. So I always tell my boys, beware if a girl asks you to dance and you say you don't know how, you may end up with her.
I think that's the way it should be, you know, that the girl asks the boy to dance. Lynn, do you want to say how you felt about that when she asked you to dance?
I forgot what I said.
You
Yes, I will. You know.
okay.
You probably didn't have a chance to say yes.
Yes, I told I'm trying to keep it even here, but I think it's going to be hard, right? Who's
Okay.
talking? No,
Okay,
that's
so-
okay.
Okay, so I'm talking. So we graduated. I went to Chicago to a 3-year nursing school program, and Lynn went to the Air Force, right?
Yes,
And then 7 years later, we got married. And we were so tired of Midwestern weather, we got married, excuse me, and we moved to San Jose. And then we moved to Los Gatos in 69. Is that right?
yes,
69?
69.
And
You lived right close to here, didn't
we
you?
lived on the other side of the park, as many of you know, because I see some of my neighbors here. And we knew the park when it was a walnut orchard. And we knew the terraces was the walnut orchard, right?
Right.
Okay. You can
The
take it
park
from
was a
there.
dump station for all the gravel and stuff that the city got rid of. They had humps all over the place. Kids loved it.
And you had kids.
We have 3 sons.
And do you want to say anything about where they are now? or-
One's in Salinas and one is over on Meridian and Blossom Hill. And we lost the other one at age 47. And we have 7 grandchildren. And we're happy as clams to be here because we knew this was going to be assumed this was going to be our place because we watched it grow up. We knew our neighbors, and so here we are. Couldn't be any happier. It's the best decision we ever made. Well, next to marrying me. Yeah. Okay, so I could keep on talking.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What
We-
about college? Did you go locally or?
No, I just went to a 3-year nursing school and everyone said you need to get your degree. Well, heck, I was 21. I was young and single in Chicago and I was making good money. Why would I want to do that? And of course, I went to Loyola for, I don't know, maybe about 3-4 semesters. And then I said, nope, this is not fun. And I quit, which was a big mistake, of course. But I've had personally an absolutely wonderful career. I was in pediatric nursing for 40 years, wouldn't trade it for anything. I know nothing about big people, but I know a little bit about little people. And that started some of our travels actually, because Lynn retired at age 50 and he had 3 weeks to make up his mind. Is he going to retire or is he not? So he did. And then I was reading a nursing magazine one time and on the back was an ad. And I said, hey, you want to travel? And he said, yeah. So that started my traveling position.
So you were a traveling nurse.
I was a traveling nurse, yeah. And you can take it from there because that brings us to Hawaii.
Well, first of all, I'll back up how I got to San Jose. I was working for a company that had a plant out here. And I told them that I was going to leave. And they said, well, we got a plant in Los Angeles, a plant in San Jose. So I looked at the map where San Jose was. I had no idea. So that's how we got to San Jose. In the Air Force, I spent my time on isolated duty, like the mountaintop up here with the radar site and Air Defense Command. And I spent the last year up in Labrador. And I had 3 guys, 3 of my roommates were from California. And they told me all their good parts of it. So that's how I decided that California was probably the best place to go. Okay, that got me out to California.
Where'd you work?
I worked for Western Electric, which was the building of the Bell system. We built it for Ma Bell. And when the government decided to break up the Bell system, AT&T said they'll break up themselves. So they put it in 7 operating companies. They kept Western Electric by itself and Bell Labs. Western Electric and Bell Labs were the same company. And then we became Lucent, and Bell, AT&T spun us off. And now it's Alcatel.
It's Nokia now.
Nokia.
At least that's where the money comes from.
Yeah. And they have a technology unit, and they have Bell Labs with them. It's a Finnish company under telecommunications. But so I'm very thankful for our government that broke us up, because I retired early. And in retiring at 50, all I did is I worked for the next 32 years as
Was that as a volunteer?
that was all volunteer work.
After 50
Yeah.
years old, he did all volunteer work.
And we got some pictures up here of that, and Janine's travels and that. So we decided to travel, and we'd be home for 3 months. We'd go for 3 months. We'd be home again, and so forth. And living down the street, our one son was home yet, which is another big story, but he kept the house going and for a while. So
let's go to the travel. Why not start with what was your favorite trip? Because you did a lot of traveling.
We did outside of. Is that better? Okay. Outside of my job, we did we thought it was a lot of traveling. And we did it all on a shoestring. We were a couple little bumpkins from Wisconsin. We didn't have a lot of money. So, but my very favorite was South Africa, because we got to go in the safaris, and I zip-lined when I was 70 years old. I zip-lined in South Africa.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that means you're up in this, they harness you in, and you're up in this platform, and you have to get off from the platform, because the line goes like this. And I was so afraid, I was just shaking. Lynn almost had to push me off, literally. But then you do 8 of them. So you go from one up to the next tree ramp, and the next one, and the next one, and the jungle's underneath. And it was so exciting. Yeah.
Do you have any pictures of that up here?
No,
don't show them
no, I'm
now.
not going to
But
show you. I'm looking where they are.
okay.
So I've got some pictures. We've got all kinds of pictures up here if anyone's interested. Yeah. So South Africa was my favorite place. What about
the
you?
zip line started at the top of the mountain and went down. It had gravity power all the way down from one spot to the next, to the next.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I guess my favorite, well, I don't know, I don't really have a lot of favorites, is going around South America. I heard so many bad stories about how bad the oceans were, how rough, and a lot of ships turned around and went back. And we went around it in calm seas and made it around, and it was really neat.
Probably one of our fun things was we couldn't do this now because OSHA has taken over the railroad system in Mexico. But at that time, you belong to a group, an RV group, and you would put your motorhome on a flatbed. Everybody had their own flatbed, and you go put it up like this. And then we went through the whole Copper Canyon And it was absolutely beautiful. It was so much fun. And there's a picture of here where, you know, you can sit on the back of your little flat bed and have a glass of wine and talk to the people next to you. And it was good. Yeah.
You were going about 15 miles an hour. They would just go up very slowly down. One of the road beds, well, it took them many years to build this. They started it before World War II. That was going to be the US port to the Pacific Ocean once they got this train line through. Well, they got it finished in the 60s. And it was a bridge going through a mountain, tunnel through a mountain, down below, and then went across this way. And you could look up on top, and there was the road bed. And when we were up there, you look down there and you could see the train track going down. And it took us 45 minutes to get through that mountain. And it was they had quite a engineering feat on that.
You were a traveling nurse. Did that end before all of this?
No, not that.
Was I traveling? I don't remember.
What,
Well, anyhow, I had some really good adventures when I was traveling. But the very best one was we had 6 months in Hawaii. We were up in the penthouse. They paid for, well, I had to pay $200 for Lynn to live with me, but everything else was free. And we were overlooking the Missouri? No, Arizona, huh?
No, we
No,
were
okay.
overlooking the airfield and the air base. And then on to the right of that was the Missouri and Arizona.
You want to share what you did while I was working in
Well,
Hawaii?
I volunteered on Battleship Missouri when it became a museum. And to get it to be a museum, they opened it up on the, I think the 55th anniversary of the first christening of the Missouri in 44 or 43, 45, I don't know. Anyway, they had that like the third week of January. And we were working on the teak deck, which was all the trip hazards. So the civilians coming on board wouldn't trip. So that's what our job was. And there's some pictures up here, how bad. The teak deck was 2 inches thick of teak wood planks. The Navy had them bolted down. We broke all that loose and glued it down. 3M donated all that glue and caulking. And so we got it pretty well fixed up in front of the big guns, cannons, because that's where the pictures were always being taken. And then we kept working around on it. But once it opened up, we had a lot of complaints of the visitors that we were making too much sawdust, too much noise, too much of this. So we started working at 4 o'clock in the morning so we could get most of it done. At least the noisy stuff would get done, and then the tear out stuff would do when they were there. I put about 800 hours on that ship in 6 months. But Hawaii, I wanted to go back again. Well, we did a couple of times, but I wanted to go back again, have Janine work another 6 months because I had a ball. And she decided to retire. So that ended that.
And we spent a lot of time in Alaska. We had a motorhome. We went up the first year as tourists, and then we decided, oh, this is fun. but we'd like to come back and volunteer. Well, we weren't really interested in, I mean, can you see Lynn working in the gift shop? I don't think so. And I didn't want to sell firewood or anything. So we created our own positions. We found out who the supervisor over all the Denali National Park was. And it took us almost a year, but we figured it out. And so we sent in our resumes. And of course, once they realized what his skill level was in construction, they had him working on the old Ranger to restore the old Ranger caches. And I died and went to heaven. I have a big interest in native plants. And so I got to work with the vegetation technician. And when they do construction along the roadsides in the park, then they tear up all the native plants and they have to be replaced. And so you have to go out and gather seeds, and everything has to be replaced within a 20-mile radius. So you have to go out and gather seeds. Well, you don't know, you have to recognize the foliage. And so I got to go out where the bears are picking blueberries, and I just had a wonderful time. And I learned. So that was our first year as volunteers.
Yes, we went to the lower part of Alaska the first time with 5 teenagers, 1 6-year-old, and a 24-foot motorhome.
You had all in that many people in your motorhome?
Now
It was
that's
a bunkhouse. It was the old Winnebago bunkhouse. There were 4 bunks in the back. The table went down for 2 step 2, and then the overhead over the driver.
So
went down.
six children?
Yeah. We had 3 of our own, a niece and a nephew, and a friend of the boys from high school.
We were absolutely crazy. Absolute what? And it was just a wonderful trip. The kids each had a plastic laundry basket, and they had the bunks. Okay. So at night, your laundry basket goes on the floor. When you get up in the morning, then that's your suitcase. You put it up on the top. And the only problem we had was it was our anniversary, and it was a secure site where we were, it was, all fenced in and everything. So we thought, okay, we're going into town. We're going to spend the night and we'll be back in the morning. So we got back and the kids said, oh gosh, Mom and Dad, we got in big trouble. They told us we were making too much noise. They had to come in 2 or 3 times and we're so embarrassed. So we felt terrible. So we wrote this nice bread and butter letter and apologized. And then we left. And down the road, the kid said, that was a lie. We were just giving you a hard time. We didn't get in trouble at all. But it was really fun. And we learned, I learned that I could be on a boat and fish, and I didn't have to be afraid of the water because the boat wasn't going to tip over. So we came home and bought a boat. And yeah, it was a good trip, wasn't it?
And the most expensive,
Yeah.
coming home and buying a boat.
Especially when you retired at 50. Wow. No, I don't hear much about your nursing along the way. You didn't. I guess you'd retired.
I worked in different places. I was in Phoenix and Camp
Albuquerque.
Pendleton, Tripler Army Medical Center, New Mexico. Where else was I? And it was really fun because, excuse me, because when you go in, they just think you're the greatest thing in the world because they need the help, and you don't have to go to any committee meetings or chair anything, or you just go in, do your job, and go home.
Did you have a specialty in pediatrics?
Yeah, I liked oncology the best. And I know a lot of people say, oh, how can you stand to do that? But I'm helping, okay? I have a very strong desire to help kids get through their chemo and that type of thing. So that was really, I did a lot of that, and especially at Tripler Army Medical Center and Camp Pendleton.
Right.
And
After
Albuquerque.
Camp Pendleton, you retired at year 2000.
Oh, yeah.
2000.
You know
But-
why I retired? I retired because at Tripler, we were so busy. And then I went to Camp Pendleton, and it wasn't a pediatric hospital. And that I always drew the line. I always wanted a pediatric hospital. I didn't want to work in a general hospital with a pediatric unit, no. But I got stuck at Camp Pendleton doing that. And they always had to have 2 RNs in pediatrics, no matter how many kids. If you had 1 kid, you still needed 2 RNs. You know that, Margaret. And it was just awful. And I worked nights and I was so tired and you couldn't sleep, you know, you don't sleep. And I came home and I said, I never want to go back and work that hard again. I'm out of here. And I retired.
Well, working in oncology, I think would be very straining, you know, to know that these children might die or.
Well,
Or-
yeah, that's part of it. But, you know, I like the precision of it. I mean, it would take me with all the different chemos and all the different things that were going into these kids, I would take a yellow legal pad, and it would take me a good half hour to say, okay, I have to give this one with this one. I can't give this one with this one. And I like those. I like that. Yeah. So it was challenging, but I loved it.
It takes a special person to do it
Yeah.
and deal with the.
Here's a cute picture that you might enjoy looking at. It's a picture, well, you can see it, it's 3 kids. When we were in Alaska, the high schools there donated hot houses to different places in Denali National Park. And we grew tomatoes, but they never got red. But anyhow, these three kids in this picture, they were all what do we call them? They were workers, they were wildlife. That was it. They were doing wildlife studies, and they were all college kids. And they had, we were in their hot house, and they had to leave. And they said, would you take care of our plants? And we said, oh, sure. And they sent us this sweet little picture, and just take a look at it. It's just youth, you know, they're all happy and enthused. And it was really nice.
And they're saying, thank you.
And they're saying, thank you. Yeah. But I started these tomato plants when we were home here. And I kept them in the shower, and I took really good care of them. And when we got to Juneau, that's another thing we did.
Right.
Yeah. We worked at a fishing lodge two summers as volunteers. But anyhow, so we had to go from Juneau. They'd come up in their float plane or whatever they came and picked us up with. And then they'd take us into this lodge. Well, I said to the lady in the RV park, will you take care of my tomato plant? She said, oh, sure. So she took care of them, and then we brought them up to the hothouse, and they never turned red. So I guess we could have fried green tomatoes, huh? But Alaska was one of our very, very best trips. Wouldn't you say, Lynn?
Yeah, it's just different. You have to love gravel roads. They got 5 main roads in Alaska: Highway 1, Highway 2, Highway 3, Highway 4, and Highway 5. Now that's very sensible. But the only years ago, the only way you could get through to Denali was the train. And before the train, there was one road in, and it picked up horse and buggy. and they got in that way. But the train was the only big way for years. And then they finally put in the Parks Highway. And I always thought it was named because it went by the park. It was the park engineer, the head guy, his name was Parks. And so they call it the Parks Highway.
If any of you have ever been, I'm sure you have been to Alaska and been to a place called Chena Hot Springs. And we were there, and you have to come up and look at this picture. It's a resort, and the Japanese come there every winter. I mean, there's the English menu, and then there's a Japanese menu. And so they have an ice house up there. Oh, it's beautiful. Everything is ice. You can sit up at the bar with the caribou skin on and have a martini. And then they have beds, and there's a picture here of the ice bed. And the story goes that if you're Japanese and you stay overnight in the ice house with what? The Aurora Borealis? What?
Yes.
Yeah. And the Aurora Borealis is out. And so if that child is conceived then, the Aurora Borealis and in the ice house, he's blessed for the rest of his life. We didn't sleep there. Oh.
Did you already mention Germany? You said
Oh, we
something
spent,
about $5 a day on Germany.
Rick Steves, it was Rick Steves,
Right.
$5 a day in Germany. And so we thought, well, we're in our 60s, we can do that. So we had our little backpacks and we went around. But the funniest part of that is, it's funny now, we were looking for this pension and we couldn't find it. It was pouring down rain. We had the address and everything, and we kept walking back and forth on this street. And this young lady came and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, we're looking for this place." She said, "Oh, no, that's the telephone number." So we was like, we found it, she showed us where to go. And but we have a niece in Germany and we go back and forth. They come to see us and we go over there. So we were able to spend a lot of time with them and see places that maybe we wouldn't have seen if we were just tourists. And the same thing with Vietnam. We have a Vietnamese family. It's a long story, but time is a waste in here. But we had a Vietnamese gal that came and stayed with us because my mother needed 24/7 care, and I could manage it, but I couldn't do it all the time. So she came, and her brother ended up living with us also, and there were 11 children in the family. And we went to Vietnam, and oh my goodness, if you have time, take a look at those pictures, because it was almost embarrassing. They treated us just like royalty. And yeah, it was really, really fun. And so I guess my highlight of that whole trip was the dad, when the communists took over North Vietnam, and he was in the North Vietnamese army. So he moved his family to South Vietnam. Well, what did that mean? He can't go back or they'll kill him, So now he's 80 years old. So now he can go back. So they rented a van, and it was his first time going back to see his cousins in North Vietnam. And he's standing on the North Vietnamese side of the Minh Quang, and he's pointing and he's saying, "That's freedom." Oh, yeah, it was just amazing, wasn't it? Guys, it's past 3:30. I could talk all day.
Well, maybe it's time for some questions. Anybody have any?
Just keep going, it sounds
Well, it's a lot of fun. We just had an absolutely, we were so blessed. We had just a wonderful time, no matter what we did. Yeah.
Tell us where your children are today.
Okay, one is in Salinas, and he's married with two children. And the other one, David, our youngest one, is off from Meridian and Blossom Hill. And then we lost the middle one. He died of a heart attack. So we see the kids a lot. We see the grandkids. We have little grandkids, 14. That's fine. And yeah, lots of fun.
And we don't have to ask you how you found the terraces because you live practically
We
next door.
just lived in, the kids would ride their bikes up. Well,
And they
you
went
know
to
Shell, yeah.
Las Gatos High School and
They went to all three of the high schools. Yeah, and it was wonderful. Good school system.
any other questions?
How does that work when you're a visiting nurse? You must come in with a lot of knowledge, but they have different ways of doing things.
Well,
protocols and-
you have to have some experience because you have a very short, you have to look, why am I there? I'm there because you're short-staffed, right? So I always say, you have to hit the floor running. You get an orientation, but you better learn, you better be flexible. And it was wonderful because I realized that there are many different ways of nursing, many different ways of doing things. And now I just learned one more. But you have to be able to do that. And
To what?
you have to be able to change and be flexible because their way might not be the way I learned, but it's still correct. So
And how many different places did you said traveling? How many different places?
6 or 8, 6, yeah. It was all fun. Except Indiana. I won't talk about that. I hated it. Oh my gosh. Every once in a while, as in all fields, every once in a while, you get a group of prima donnas that don't want to do teamwork. And if that happens in nursing, you're really stuck. And that's what happened to me. And they didn't like me at all. I stood up to them, and
This was where, Indiana?
Indiana, yeah.
And Houston was just the opposite. Janine was the token white person on 2 different shifts. One was Puerto Rican, the other one was all American, Asian American, African American. And they called her the token whitey.
They were great people. They were no prejudices, no nothing. So
It sounds like it's a very happy, exciting life you've had.
well, we've been very blessed. Yeah, we're still here. We're in good health. So far,
Oops.
so good.
Well,
Tell us a little bit about the ship. Were they American ships or?
the Missouri, is that what?
Oh, the cruise ships.
All the cruise ships.
Yeah.
You tell us. We're listening to you.
Thank you. Well,
The cruise ships, it was mainly Viking cruise line. And we took the second one. We took the Rhine and the Danube through Germany and all the European countries that the rivers ran through. And that was delightful. It was a river cruise. And I learned why they put that highway of the rail or the road in River Road that they called. And the captain said, if it costs $1 to ship it by road or the boat, it costs $5 by train, costs $50 by truck. And in Europe,
And that was from where to where?
that was all the Rhine and the Danube, and there's a canal connecting the two that they put in here, in my lifetime. But I remember it being built And I thought, why in the world would they ever build that? You know, but they got a canal connecting the two up in their Alps. And the boat trip is just fantastic. You look out and there's boats coming on both sides of you downstream. And I asked the captain, I said, don't you have right return? Back and forth, you know, people going upstream go on the right, people on the left going down. Oh no, the downward traffic has the right of way because they have the less movement. We're going upstream, you got your rudder, you got the current, so you can maneuver your boat around.
Were these on the Danube or?
Danube and the Rhine. But
How did we get cataloged for trade Viking?
yes.
I don't know, is there any relationship?
Well, the Vikings, they've even got one on the Mississippi now. We've been planning on going on that one for the last 3 years. We're still waiting. But no, they have, we went around South America. We went, forgot which ones we went on.
Do you have any more? Do you have any?
Went up the Amazon. We went around, went through the Panama Canal with it, and around South America.
How far up the Amazon did we go?
All the way to the Nikiru River, where they split, where the white water, the clear water comes down the Amazon, and the brown water comes down from straight north, and the two mix, and mixing of the waters.
I want to know.
forgot the city.
I want to know if you have any plans to travel while you're here.
We're still waiting to go on the Mississippi River. We've gotten postponed a couple of times because of COVID.
So you're not tired of traveling?
Well, I'm done, but I don't think Janine is.
Okay,
She would like to keep going.
Yeah.
you can hang out here while he goes.
No, it's just the opposite.
Okay, good.
It's just the opposite. He's content, but I'm ready to boogie. Yeah. So we've been, I hope we haven't bored you guys. You know, we just love to talk about, share what we're doing. I have to add this because this is a little emotional, holy cow. I am so proud of Lynn and what he did after he retired from AT&T. He started an organization with one of the churches called Helping Hands, and he had a group of men working with him, for him, and he'd send them out to do just little, you know, it's should I go or should I stay kind of thing. I need a handyman, I can't do this and I can't do that. So what these guys did, and gals too, because we did landscape, they would go and maybe put in a light fixture or do something like that. And this went on for years. And then he took a group of kids to Mexico and built houses there for people who didn't have houses. And everything he did was for someone else. And he was busy all the time. Just,
I can see where you're proud of him.
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I just think, wow. Anyhow, that's my spiel.
Well, don't get emotional. That's. Well, be sure that you come up and look at pictures because they've got a whole spread of them here. Unless there's any other question that someone has. Okay, thank you for coming.
Come see my face too.
I don't know. I don't know how to turn mine off.
Yes.
Neighbors, hi.
This is interesting in that, look at the clothes he has on. That was taken the same day. He got 2 sweatshirts in the morning. This is the proper candy.
My folks took that trip on with a motor home, yeah. So I had heard of it before.
You were doing all this traveling.
And that's oh, I was gonna say,
Yeah. Poor
I was gonna look.
Stop. I want a picture of the lamb. I missed it. I missed that one of the pictures.